Okay, let's start the session. Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Guru Schools. I thank you all for investing your time this beautiful Friday evening. Uh, Today, we have an instructor led introductory session on validation and quality management system. This is a very niche and a popular training track. The only reason being uh, it is pertaining to the life science, pharmaceutical, healthcare, and medical device domain. So it covers various validation, regulatory guidelines. Uh, it will be definitely interesting for those who have some science background, who have taken science, and especially those who are living in states which is big on healthcare, medical device, life science, and pharmaceutical industry. Like, say, for example, I live in New Jersey, and New Jersey is called as Mecca of all life science and pharmaceutical domain. So it's a pretty big here, and we see a lot of people who graduate from good schools, uh, doing their MS in biochemistry, biological science. Uh, they take this track because this is what the future is. Healthcare is growing, life sciences do growing in double digit, and that brings the opportunity to have a career in this particular skills domain. Now, let me also give a brief backdrop about Guru Schools. So, Guru Schools, as the name suggests, it's basically a modern marketplace for in the form of ancient Gurukul or ancient ashram. We strongly believe education is that one strength that once it comes to you, it stays with you forever, and is also grows by sharing. So when you share knowledge, when you share education with other like-minded people, it simply grows in multifold. So we bring this world-class IT, life science education to the ambitious, career-driven people such as yours. It gives a good overview on theoretical as well as the practical simulated experience. Uh, for many people who are indirectly associated in a healthcare, pharmaceutical, medical device industry, doing some odd jobs, this can be a good upskilling, meaning it will be a good value added learning for them because it kind of brings you to a level where you can get a good hourly wage. And this is what the healthcare growth and medical device and life science growth is gearing for, and you're aligning yourself. Along with that, this training, you will also be helped in terms of having a reference ready resume preparation. So when you are going through the training, doing some of our internal projects, it gives you the confidence in writing those things in your resume. Also, our trainer and our instructors will help you towards how to prepare with the vendor agencies, how to interact for those interviews with the questions and answers, as well as how to uh, get that priceless help towards clearing the interview because our trainers are lateral people. They have been doing this for 10, 20 years, and with their guidance, it will help you to seek a new job and a new project. Upon doing so, the trainer fraternity will also be with you for the initial 3 to 6 months to make sure whatever the day-to-day escalations might come to you on a project, they will be able to help you towards mitigating them. As an organization, Guru Schools, 10% of our gross profit, we give it to various community causes. To give a small example, in light of this COVID-19 pandemic, Here in the USA, we helped about 14,000 people in the past 5.5 months, primarily in New York, New Jersey area. A lot of them were healthcare workers in hospital setting and in private clinic setting in terms of giving them sanitizers, masks, gloves, as well as food. As I have dual heritage, we also helped about 8.7 lakhs people in India towards giving them a month of ration, sanitizers, gloves, mask. Our ability to give it back for various causes for the USA as well as to India simply grows as people such as yours trust in us, seek the training, get a job. Because we benefit only when you benefit. So as we make money, as an organization, we make money. Now, some of our focused areas in terms of technology as well as this life science are, along with the validation testing, are primarily the technology side, cloud DevOps, big data, Python data science, Java full stack, .NET full stack, Salesforce administration and development, Selenium QA automation, robotics process automation, Tableau and Click business intelligence reporting, and project management business analysis, QA and Scrum. We are also product partners for some of these product companies, which enables you to have a training which is geared towards your certification, because that kind of an add value to your career, and even the client appreciates once you are certified in a particular track and a technology. Um, in terms of the clients, we work with about 17 universities because we have a student exchange program. We bring people from Asia primarily for the graduate school for doing masters, and then we also help them giving internships, training, and after that provide them employment and their visa sponsorship. For those universities, we also help them in terms of their website design development and content design development. Uh, as an organization, we work with all major IT outsourcing companies, which I'm sure you have heard of: Infosys, Wipro, TCS, Cognizant, L&T Infotech, Tech Mahindra, Virtusa, and many such, as well as the American staffing agencies such as Manpower, Robert Half, Kelly Services, Kforce, and the likes, in terms of primarily for contract and time and again for some full-time positions. Uh, in terms of servicing small mid-sized clients, we have a few dozen small mid-sized clients, primarily hotel, motel, restaurant, convenience stores, who are struggling in this COVID-19 pandemic, and then we help them towards their website design, development, as well as digital marketing. We also work with the RP organization, that is Indian American Doctors Organization, uh, and various doctors in terms of managing, maintaining uh, their practice websites and promoting them. Well, 2020 will be long remembered as a unique year. These are difficult times. In light of COVID-19 pandemic, it has caused a global recession. From the best economy, US in few quarters is heading for a worst economy because of the COVID-19 or the Chinese virus. About 50 million people have lost their job over the past 3 quarters. Uh, in light of all these challenges, I guess those who can must rise up to the occasion towards providing the much needed help to the people as well as to corporate America towards reducing the unemployment. Over the last 2.5, 3 months, we have trained about 108 students for various these tracks. Currently, we have about 618, 620 candidate enrollment pending, and they will be starting in the next uh, week to 3 weeks timeline. To give an example, this coming Monday, we are starting 4 new tracks. for Selenium Q automation, for Salesforce administration and business analysis. The third track is project management, business analysis, and Scrum. And the fourth track is business analysis, quality assurance, and Scrum. Uh, if you are looking to have a career in a corporate America, and if you're looking to work on your first project through Guru Schools, this training is free to you. It's our way of thanking you for securing employment in corporate America, and it's our way of investing in people. We are unique in a way, as there are many training institutes. We are not here to basically rob you by some money and give you some training and done it. This training is geared towards having a career focused and a job focused employment. So this helps you to secure a career in corporate America. That's the major difference, because this helps you to add the bells and the whistles to your resume, which increases your marketability. This enables you to successfully interact with the vendor agencies. This enables you to successfully clear your interview with the end client. And this also enables you, with the help of the trainer, to get that much needed support as and when you come up with any challenges in your initial day of the client project. The good thing about COVID-19, which it taught the entire universe, that is all, everything can be done remote. So we are a big consumer of technology as we work in a global setting, and which also means those who are looking and have some restrictions in terms of locations, now it opens the opportunities across the country. So no matter where the project is, you can still work in your pajamas from your sweet home. So in today's session, as I said, it's a Friday, beautiful evening, and it's an introductory session. So what you'll be expecting? Well, it's a movie trailer. It gives you enough good overview on what validation and what quality testing is all about. It will also give an opportunity after the end of the training overview to have a brief question and answer session with the trainers and I. So please feel free to reserve your questions, which you can ask once the training overview will be done by the trainer, so that it will help you clear your doubts about this particular skills. For those who could not join the session, in another day or two, by Sunday, we will have a recorded session up and ready, made available on our website, www.guruschools.com. And it also will be mailed to you if you send us an email at training@guruschools.com, so that we can send the link of this recorded session. For today, our subject matter expert and our trainer is Mr. Kamal Arora. Kamalji has extensive experience working in this validation quality management systems area. He has worked on as a lateral professional real-time project experience, and he will be navigating the presentation for the rest of the evening. So without doing any further ado, Kamalji, welcome, and you can start with your presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So this is our schedule. Going forward, we have 6 months, 6 weeks of training, where you can learn about validation, QMS, quality, pharmaceutical, medical device. So as Mr. Dev said, pharmaceutical and medical device is very vast industry, and it has lot of scope. Amid this pandemic, uh, IT people are losing job, non-IT people are losing job, whereas pharma medical device and non-IT, it doesn't have any impact, because pharmaceutical medical device industry is still growing. So that's what I'm saying. If you are looking for a good career, you should focus in these domains, and you should learn about these so that you can think of good job in this area, this domain. So I'll start with basic pharmaceutical and medical device industry, how it works. The first thing is pharmaceutical and medical devices industry is very controlled industry. So we have lot of regulations, we have lot of standards which needs to be followed. So in US FDA. So US FDA is the regulatory body which is United States Food and Drug Administration. So in my first slide, if I'll show you FDA on the top, it is written FDA. So FDA is a regulatory body in US which is regulating all pharmaceutical medical device industry. Whatever you have to manufacture, you have to sell in US, you have to get authorization from FDA. The other corner, it is GMP. So GMP, what GMP says, FDA has some guidelines. If you are manufacturing any medicine, any medical device, you have to follow this GMP. GMP is good manufacturing practices. So whatever is getting manufactured, we have to follow GMP. If we are doing some clinical practices, we have to follow GCP. That is good clinical practices. If we are doing some lab analysis, we have to follow GLP. That is good lab practices. So all in all, it covers in GXP. We are calling it as a GXP. GXP will give us GMP, GCP, GLP. So now I'll start with basic things. What is pharmaceutical? So as you might have taken pharmaceutical drugs, pharmaceutical like no, tablets, capsules, or something in your lifetime. So what exactly this pharmaceutical domain links to? So we have lot of we have number of medicines. We have number of types of medicines, which comes in the form of tablet, capsules. So some you have taken injectables, injections. You might have taken. Some are topical, some are ophthalmic, some are nasal, and some are inhalation products. So for manufacturing a medicine, we need two basic things. One is API, active pharmaceutical ingredients, and another is excipients. So once API and excipients mix, we'll get a formulated product. That formulated product, whatever you will consume, that generally is a formulated product. This formulated product comes in the form of tablet or capsules, which comes under oral solid. Whatever you are taking through your mouth, whatever medicine you are taking through your mouth, that is oral solid dosage form. Second is injectables. Whatever injections you are taking, that comes under injectables. Whatever ointment, etc., you are applying on your skin, that comes under topical. Whatever medicine you are taking from your eyes, that comes under ophthalmic. Nasal and inhalation, these things you are taking from your nose. Nasal is liquid form which you are taking, and inhalation is powder form which you are consuming through your nose. So these all drugs need to be formulated by following some process, by following some raw material, by using some equipment. By these, once it is formulated, these has to be analyzed by using some test method. Okay. So whatever test method, whatever process, whatever equipment we are using, my regulation says that needs to be validated. So we'll talk on this validation only after some slides. Down the line, we'll talk about these validation things. So this is all like basic thing, basic clear-cut idea I want to give you about the pharmaceutical domain. Now I'll move to medical device. So in US, there are like US FDA has segregated medical device into three classes. That is class 1, class 2, class 3. So why these three classes are segregated as per US FDA? Because they possess different kind of risk. So class 1 medical devices are those medical devices which possess low risk. 55% of medical devices comes into under this category. and only general controls we have to follow. What general controls means? Normal clean area should be there, normal trained guy should be there that can manage class 1 medical device. Class 2, we have a medium risk. 40% of medical device fall into this category. We need general controls as well as special controls. So general controls are same as of class 1, and special controls like sterile area is required, trained person is required to manufacture this. Okay. Class 3 is 5% of medical device. These possess high risk. These require general controls, special controls, and pre-market approvals and notification. Before getting released into the market, these approvals are required. Who will give approval? US FDA will give approval in US. Now, I'll give you an example. If I'll give you class 1 as example is bandages, class 2 examples are wheelchairs or ventilators, and class 3 examples are implants which are getting implanted into the body like pacemakers. So these are the examples. So this is again I'll tell you, for manufacturing this, for designing these medical devices, design validation is required. Again, for manufacturing this, we need equipments on machines, which on machines these equipments, these medical devices will be manufactured. For using these machines, again equipment validation is required. For we are following some process to manufacture these medical devices. For that, using that process validation is required. If equipments are automated, computer system validation is required. And once these medical devices are manufactured, for testing these medical devices, test method validation is required. So this is like basic idea of how medical device industry works in US and what all classes we have in medical devices. Now, what is validation? They have a main topic. So validation is a documentary evidence demonstrated that my procedure, my process, my activity, my equipment, my system, which are subjected, these subjected procedure, process, activity, software, these are working as per my requirements, and these will maintain compliance at all the stages down the production. So if I am testing these equipments, generally we have three environments: development, quality, and production. So in development, my process, my equipment, my software will be developed. These will be tested in a phase, a quality environment, and then these will be released for production user end use. So in production environment, my product will be manufactured and that will be released to market. What we are consuming, what we are using, that product, that pharmaceutical drug is getting manufactured by the end user in production environment. Before that, the software, the equipment, the process is designed or developed, it is tested, and then it is getting used in those companies where these products are getting manufactured and we are consuming those products. Okay, so what FDA talks about these this validation requirements. So whatever product is getting manufactured, that should meet the specifications. The process, the procedure, the testing method that are getting used, that should meet consistent results. That give me consistent results. Let's say I am manufacturing a 500 mg paracetamol today. So I already validated the method, validated the process, then only I am using that particular process to manufacture the paracetamol. So if I am manufacturing a paracetamol today I'll get 500 mg paracetamol. So following some process, I got it analyzed in a lab. So I got 500 mg paracetamol. If tomorrow this is given 400 mg results, day after tomorrow it is giving 600 mg results. So that is not at all acceptable. My results should be consistent. The process which I'm using, that should give me consistent results. Whatever tolerance limit it is, if it is my acceptance is 490 mg to 510 mg, so my product should fall into that particular range, not beyond that. If it is fall, my results are beyond that, the product is not at all acceptable, and I can't release that product into the market. That's why I'm saying the market is this industry is very much regulated, and we have to follow guidelines, we have to follow standards as set by different regulatory bodies. So before going into this slide, I'll talk about this area where validation is required. So I told you like last few slides, we are using equipments, we are using some softwares, we are using some process, we are using some test methods for manufacturing our product, for for analyzing our product. So whatever methods, whatever equipments, whatever process we are following, that needs to be validated. So I'll start with the equipment validation first. So let's say I'm manufacturing a pharmaceutical product. That pharmaceutical product, if I'm manufacturing in a particular machine, in a particular tank, so whatever tank, whatever machine I'm using, that needs to be validated. Then only I can put my raw material and I can manufacture that product into that particular equipment, a particular machine. Let if I'll give you an example of a tank, manufacturing tank. I want to manufacture some 500 mg paracetamol. So I'll take in a tank, I'll take water, I'll put API. API is active pharmaceutical ingredient. I'll put excipients. Excipients includes preservatives, acids, base, kind of thing. So if I'll add these things in my equipment and I'll process this raw material, I'll mix for few hours and I'll get the product. So first and foremost thing, my equipment should be validated. What does validation includes in case of equipment? My equipment should be inert to that particular raw material. My raw material should not get react with the material of the tank. If and material of the tank should be non-toxic. If material of the tank will be toxic, that will toxic that will create toxicity to my raw material, and at the end of the day, I'll get toxic product. So these things I have to check. My MOC, material of construction of that particular equipment, should be inert. Generally, we are using a particular kind of stainless steel for our equipments. And like if I have to prepare a solution, so the foremost requirement is a mixer. So I have to check whether equipment has mixer, in which direction it is rotating, at what speed it can rotate. So these kind of things I have to check in equipment validation. I have to test in equipment validation. Next thing, computer system validation. So at the fourth point, we have computer system validation. So computer system validation, if my machines, my equipments are automated. So right in like today's scenario, most of the equipments are automated because to increase our productivity, we should use automated equipments. If we are using automated equipments, these automated systems need to be validated. One thing I want to clarify here, right now computer system validation is in very much demand because major IT companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL, these companies are also hiring computer system validation guys because wherever these companies are working for pharmaceutical and medical device clients, these companies need computer system validation guys. Along with that, pharmaceutical and medical device companies are also offering this now. So this is like most booming, what you can say, validation domain where you can work. So computer system validation, or generally we are calling it as CSV. So CSV, what if equipments what we are using that are automated, whatever softwares we are using in our pharmaceutical and medical device industry, before using that, that also needs to be validated. Let's say I'm manufacturing, I want to rotate my mixer, whatever tank mixer is there, I want to rotate at 500 RPM, 500 rotations per minute. So I'll give a command from my system, 500 RPM, then only it will rotate. Okay. So if I am giving 500 RPM, but it is not rotating at 500 RPM, it is rotating at 100 RPM, 200 RPM. So that I have to validate, that I have to test before adding my commercial product into that. So those things, those automation things I have to check before taking it for commercial manufacturing. Second thing, whatever software we are using, like SAP, LIMS, TrackWise, Viva, CRM softwares, whatever getting used in pharmaceutical and medical device industry, those softwares need to be validated. Without validation, I can't use that particular software in my company. In my plant, I can't use that software. Okay. Next is process validation. I told you, like, if I want to manufacture a 500 mg paracetamol, I'm taking a tank. In tank, I'm adding water. I'm adding API. I'm adding some acid. I'm adding some base. I'm adding some preservative, and I'm keeping it for mixing for a particular few hours. So this is our process. First, what we have to add. Second, what we have to add. Third, what we have to add. Then, how many hours of mixing are required? How many at how much RPM? So we have to define this process in the beginning, and we have to test whether this process, whatever is getting followed, that is giving us consistent results or not, that is giving us correct results or not, whatever is desired. So again and again we have to test this process in a, like, process validation phase, where I'll tell ki my product, my process requirements are getting met and my end product is the same what is designed. So that is called as process validation. Next is test method validation. So test method validation is what? I got my 500 mg paracetamol. I manufactured a 500 mg paracetamol. Now, if I need before use, I need this needs to be tested in a lab. Like same thing, you are giving your blood sample to a pathology lab. So the lab analyst has to analyze by using some test method, by using some reagents. So reagents will and your sample will be put together, and one method will be used to analyze that particular sample. So that method, whatever lab analyst is using, that method also need to be validated. Let's say if you went to pathology lab and you gave your sample for like analysis of hemoglobin. If today this pathologist or lab analyst is giving you results as 14 gram hemoglobin you have, tomorrow 15 gram, day after tomorrow 16 gram, 13 gram. So you will not rely on that results, and you will feel this guy is making fool of me, or this guy doesn't know anything, or this lab is not good. So to have a confidence on the product, to have a like uh, to have a confidence on the product or to have a good product, my test method, whatever is getting used in the lab, that also should be valid. I have to use some standards, and I have to use this test method again and again. Uh, the standard results, whatever I'm expecting, that is appearing or not consistent. So that I have to. Then is cleaning validation. So cleaning validation is a type of validation where we are checking how much effective my cleaning is. So in this cleaning validation, what we are doing in this, like first product I'm manufacturing is paracetamol. Okay. So after this, in the same tank, I have to manufacture ibuprofen. So what is the requirement? Ki what product I manufacture in batch one, that should not contaminate batch two. If my product from batch one will transfer to batch two, if I'll get paracetamol in my ibuprofen tablets, so that is a kind of a contamination. So in between batch one and batch two, cleaning should be that much effective. Ki my product from batch one should not transfer to batch two. What USFDA said, ki not more than 10 ppm, 10 parts per million, should transfer from batch one to batch two. That transfer can be avoided through proper cleaning, and this cleaning method needs to be validated before use. Then is supply chain. So, as you know, different countries, different companies are manufacturing coronavirus vaccine. So, whatever countries those don't have infrastructure, like most of the African countries, those don't have infrastructure, those are not into clinical trials or design of these vaccines or manufacturing of these vaccines. India, US, China, European countries will provide these vaccines to these African countries. So here, supply chain system will come into the place. So what will happen? We have to manufacture this vaccine, and the main requirement of these vaccine is that they need cold temperature. These vaccines need to be maintained at 20 minus 20 degrees Celsius, minus 10 degrees Celsius, 0 degrees Celsius. So during storage and during distribution, these the temperature of these vaccines need to be maintained around 0, minus 10, minus 20, whatever the requirement is. Okay. So whatever truck, whatever plane, whatever ship we are using for transit, that should maintain that particular temperature. If I am like loading or unloading the truck, how much time we can keep the door open so that temperature will not come down. So these all things need to be validated. Then only we can use that particular process. Otherwise, my product will be damaged, and whenever it will reach Africa or their destinations, that will not work. These things need to be keep in mind. So these are the main types of validation. And the most booming validation domain is computer system validation, because you'll get job in various IT companies, pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies. So first, I'll focus on this computer system validation only for today class. We'll start from types of validation. Now, we have four types of validation. First is prospective, concurrent, retrospective, and pre-validation. So if I'll talk about prospective validation is a validation where we have three environments: development, quality, production. So what we are doing in prospective, we are developing our application. We are in development phase. We are testing our application in quality phase, and then we are giving it to end user in production phase for using that application. This is simple though. Okay. We are developing in development environment, we are testing in quality environment, and we are giving our application to end user for production use. Next is concurrent. Concurrent is what? My applications are getting developed in development environment without testing in quality. It is getting used in production environment. So testing is skipped. My application is getting used in production environment and it was not tested before. So somebody observed, or you will get some observation during audit. If this application is not validated, so please validate this. So what you will do while production, you will validate this application. You will while concurrently with production going on, you will validate this application and you will say the application is working fine. So this is called as concurrent validation. Retrospective, again, development is done in development. Validation is not done, or testing is not done in quality. It is getting used without validation. Now again, somebody will told you, or you'll get some observation during audit. You have to validate this in production environment. So how concurrent and retrospective are different? In concurrent, you are seeing the process. By seeing the process, you can validate. In retrospective, you will see the results, whatever reports we have. Let's say my requirement was that 200 bottles get filled in 1 minute. So in reports, if I'll say ki, the speed of the machine is 200 bottles per minute, and in 1 hour, these many bottles are getting filled. Okay, so if in 1 minute I'm filling 200, in 60 minutes I can fill 12,000. So in reports, if I see, in 1 hour 12,000 got filled. By seeing the reports, I can validate or I can confirm my machine is working fine. That comes under retrospective. Next is revalidation. Everything is going fine. Some fine day I feel that one more module is required in this particular application. So if I'm adding, modifying, deleting anything from my application, that application needs revalidation before use. So that is called as revalidation. Before adding, modifying, deleting anything, I have to revalidate the machine. So revalidation is a whole different scenario. But out of prospective, concurrent, retrospective, prospective is the most desired one, and regulators says we have to use prospective validation. Concurrent and retrospective we are following in the case where validation is not done or it is skipped because of some reason or unknowingly it is skipped. So now, if I talk about life cycle approach of a particular application, so a particular application has to go through certain life cycle phases during the life of a system. So we have 4 phases: concept, project, operations, retirement. So I'll talk about these phases down the line. So first is concept phase. Being a IT guy or being a owner of the company, you want to implement some system, or you want to simplify some operation. For that, you need a particular software. So you are in concept phase to what kind of software is required. You will talk to your management, you will talk to your IT guys, operation guys, quality guys, warehouse guys, how I can simplify this operation. What all application are required for these. So they'll suggest some name, they'll suggest some application. These applications can be used to simplify this particular process. This will help us. This is like this application is in demand right now. Or this application is good market. This application can fulfill our demand. So you will select this particular application. Okay. Next, you will move to project phase. In project phase, you will implement that particular application. Once it is implemented, project is done, that will be used by operation people or production people for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever the life of the system is. Okay. And if after, like, let's say 30 years, you are getting some better application, that particular which is already there, you're getting some better application, Then you'll retire that particular application, and again a new application project phase will start. Now, old application is getting retired, and new application is coming into the picture, for which you have to start a project phase. And old application is getting retired. So, how we have to move forward? I'll tell you. We have to start. We are starting from a project phase for a particular system which needs to be implemented. So, this is how one particular machine or one particular system needs to be implemented. I told you, sorry. In project phase, we have four phases: planning, specification, verification, and reporting. Here also, if you'll see, we are following a computer system validation methodology. We are following a V model methodology where we have four phases: planning, specification, verification, and reporting. Okay. For starting this V model methodology, before starting this, what I have to do, I have to segregate my application. I have to assess the suppliers. Ki who from like whom I'll purchase this application, who will implement these services for me, this application for me in my company, who will test this application. So I'll assess the suppliers first before starting the project, and I'll check whether my application, in which category my application falls. So if I talk about the category, my application generally falls in four categories as per GAM5. GAM5 is a guideline which is given by ISPE, International Society for Pharmaceutical Engineering, and GAM5 is Good Automated Manufacturing Practices, Volume 5. So we have this guideline where these softwares are categorized. Before starting implementation, we need to categorize these softwares, in which category this software falls. If I'll talk about category one is infrastructure softwares, where we have operating systems like Windows, Linux, which doesn't require validation because they doesn't have any risk. Then there's category 3. These applications are non-configured applications. Whatever your demand is, whatever your customizations or configurations you want, they will not at all provide you because these are non-configured applications. These are generally lab equipments which we are using in our labs. So these applications will be non-configured. They can't configure these applications as per your needs. You have to use as it is. These possess low risk, and for these, low validation effort is required. So these categories are these softwares are categorized into these categories based on the risk only and based on the validation effort required. So category 3 non-configured, category 4 these are configured softwares. Whatever I told you, SAP, LIMS, TrackWise, CRM. So whatever softwares we are procuring from outside, we are purchasing from outside, and we are configuring it. Whatever my business needs are, I can configure these softwares as per my needs. So these softwares possess medium kind of risk, and medium effort of validation is required for that. That comes into category 4. Category 5s are the softwares which are built in-house. We are building this software in-house, and these softwares possess maximum risk, maximum validation effort we have to put for these softwares. These comes under category 5. Now, before starting these activities, the first thing I have to assess the supplier. Let's say I am an owner of ABC company. I want SAP application to be implemented. So I'll choose my supplier first. SAP AG provided me the application, the SAP. Now this application need to be implemented. So this application, how it will be implemented, I'll select the service provider. service provider can be Infosys, Wipro, TCS, whatever the service provider is. I can assess those, whether those suppliers, what kind of expertise they have, what kind of experience they have, what kind of people they have, what kind of projects they had done in past, whether they have experience in pharmaceutical domain or medical device domain. So I have to assess those service providers. Then only I'll choose. If I'll choose some XYZ company which doesn't have any expertise, which doesn't have any experience, they'll waste my time, they'll waste my money, they'll waste their time, they'll waste their expertise. So I have to assess suppliers first, then only I will choose. I'll ask them to implement that particular application for me. Second is I have to assess in which category my application falls. So before planning, I'm doing these things. In which category my application falls, as per that, I'll do the validation. This V model which we are seeing is for category 4. If I want to implement some SAP, some LIM, some TrackWise, I have to categorize this in a category 4. And this kind of validation effort I have to put in. Okay. So I'll start from planning phase now. So in planning phase, I have to plan how my application will be implemented. So in planning phase, we have first document or first activity which we have to do is validation plan. So what is validation plan now? So validation plan is a procedure, is a document where we have to define who, what, how it will be done, what will be done, and who will do it. So my application is getting implemented. My application, how it will be implemented, how that project will be carried out. So I'll say as per V model, it will be carried out. What needs to be done? Okay. So planning phase has few activities, specification phase has a few activities, then verification phase has few activities, then reporting phase has few activities. So those activities need to be carried out, documents need to be created. So these will come under what? And next is who. Let's say as a ABC company, I selected TCS. So TCS and ABC, both companies will come together and they'll carry out the project. They'll carry out some activities. They will prepare some documents. So these are responsibilities I have to define in validation plan. Key quality manager of ABC company will do this. User of ABC company will do this, whereas developers of TCS will do this. Testers of TCS will do this. So these all kinds of activities I have to segregate and I have to define validation plan. So as a whole, deliverables, whatever activities, what we are doing in whole validation, we have to define. The personal participating, as I told you, whatever whoever involved, we have to define. Timelines we have to define. Acceptance criteria, what is the end achievement we are trying for, that we have to define, and how these systems will be in compliance state, that we have to define. The validation plan, we have to define majorly who, what, how. Next is URS. URS is a document which is also called as BRD, business requirement document. URS is called as user requirement specifications. So whenever I'm trying to build some application, I have to define the user requirement specifications in the beginning. So these requirements will be implemented while implementation. These requirements will include operational requirements, functional requirements, regulatory requirements, data requirements, interface, power, training. So these kind of requirements should be there. So let's say my workflow should be like this. In SAP, I have procure to pay, order to cash. So these kind of workflows need to be implemented. First thing. Then these are the like operational requirements. Functional requirements, system should function like this, system should provide a report like this. So these kind of functional requirements I have to get. Regulatory requirements. So USFD again has given few requirements, few guidelines for securing computer system validation, computer system applications. So that regulations we have to implement. How much data we have to save, how backup need to be carried out. So these will come under data requirements. Interface, how my SAP application will interface with other application. So that should come in interface requirements. Power backup, some UPS, some generator I have to put, so that also will come. And training. Before implementing this particular application, people need training. So that also we have to define in training requirements. So URS or BRD should have these kind of requirements specified. What you are expecting from your system. Okay. Next is risk management. So risk management is what? Whatever requirements you have given. Let's say 100 requirements you have given in your URS document. On each and every requirement, we have to assess the risk. That is called as functional risk assessment. So by using a tool known as FMEA, failure mode and effect analysis, I'll not go in detail. So by using this tool, each and every requirement needs to be analyzed. Each and every requirement, if they have a high risk, that risk needs to be mitigated and that risk need to be lowered down. Because I can't move ahead, I can't manufacture a product, I can't use a process, I can't use a software which possess high risk. Because if my process is risky, it will give a product which might have high risk. So that product, if it is a risky product, we can't sell and patient can't consume. I have to focus on three things: product quality, patient safety, data integrity. So if product quality is not good, it will definitely impact your patient health or patient safety. So if patient safety is at stake, regulators can shut down your company as well. So we have to take utmost care on product quality, patient safety, and data integrity. So if risk is high, you can see risk is high in this particular requirement. I have to lower down the risk by putting some mitigations, by putting some controls. So failure mode we have to assess. What is the effect we have to assess? We have to analyze how much risk is there. If risk is high, definitely we have to lower down. If it can't be lower down, I can't follow that particular process. I can't use that particular application. I have to find some other alternate. Okay. So this is how risk assessment. This is what risk assessment is, and we are using a tool called FMEA to carry out the risk assessment. Further down the sessions, I'll tell you how we are doing FMEA. Next is specification phase. In specification phase, we have few documents which are functional specification, configuration specification, design specification. If I talk about functional specification, so functional specification is a document which will be developed by your implementation partners. Your implementation partner, what does it mean? Whatever service provider you have selected, you already have given a URS document to them. So the URS document, against that document, they will develop a software. So how that software will interact with the user, or if you are a operator, how that software will interact with you, or how you will interact with the software. So that will be detailed in FS. What all requirements can be implemented, what all requirements can't be implemented. Everything will be defined in this particular document, which is called as FS. So system design, customizations, development, whatever they had done, they will define this. Whatever functional requirements got met, whatever operational requirements got met, whatever data requirements, regulatory requirements, uh, interface requirements, whatever got met, whatever not get met, they will define in functional specifications. So in this document, they will give you a whole sort of idea of how your application looks like, and which are like application parts or application pages or application modules you can access, and how you'll work on that. So this particular document will give you an idea how you have to interact with the software. Next is DS and CS. So CS is configuration specification, is something, whatever configurations are done in the system, like you at SAP, like some application is giving you two, three, two or three processes. Like if you are installing some software, they'll ask you for standard installation or standard functionality or customization functionality. So whatever configuration you want to use, you can opt for that, and you can go ahead. So these are configurations what you have done during your implementation, during your installation, whatever, that needs to be defined in configuration specification. Next is design specification. So design specification is whatever configurations you have taken, whatever software you have implemented, whatever coding you have done in between, that everything needs to be defined in design specification. So whatever code is written to implement this, to configure this particular application, that needs to be written in design specification. So design specification document will tell you how whatever things are happening in FS, how it is getting done. Behind that, what code is there, that needs to be written in DS. Keep in mind, validation guy doesn't have responsibilities of working in on FS, DS, and CS. Function specification, design specification, and configuration specification. You don't have to worry about these, because this is a part where developers work. These are development kind of things, development documents. So majorly validation guys are like scared of these documents. You don't have to worry about these documents. You have to check these documents from completeness perspective, from formatting perspective. You don't have to worry about these documents. These are fully development work, how system is getting development, whatever programming, whatever coding we are doing, that has to be done in this area. The validation guys doesn't have any responsibilities of these function specification, configuration specification, design specification. So don't get scared. You have to do any programming, you have to do any documentation, you have to do any coding kind of thing. This domain is very simple. You have to take care of quality, you have to take care of documentation. You don't have to put your hands in programming and coding. So don't worry about that. Up till this phase, planning specification, your application is already built up. Your application is ready at the one corner of V. Now what we are doing, we are moving, and one more thing, these all things were happening in development phase. So application is developed now, it is ready for testing. So what we are doing, we are moving to testing phase. We have three types of testing, which is called as IQ installation qualification, OQ operational qualification, and PQ performance qualification. So IQ is what now we have applications which need to be installed on servers. We have applications which need to be installed on our local desktop, local laptops. So these installation should be carried out as per the manufacturer guidelines. SAP AG has given SAP software. That software need to be installed on your servers. How it will be installed, what all components need to be installed, whatever prerequisite need to be met, these all need to be defined in IQ protocol, and this protocol need to be followed. My application need to be installed as per that particular IQ protocol. Okay, I have to follow all the recommendations from the manufacturer, from the supplier of that particular application, and have to install this application on my servers. That is called as IQ protocol. Okay. Once application is installed, these application can be tested. So next testing part is operation qualification. So IQ will be majorly done by IT administrators who will install the applications on servers. They will take control of the servers and they will install application on that. Second is OQ. OQ is operation qualification. So whatever we have given in FS, function specification, how my software will work, how it looks like, what all functional operational requirements are there. So that needs to be tested during operational qualification phase. So here each and every functionality of a system will be tested against the FS. Positive and negative testing will be done. You might be aware what is positive and negative testing. I'll by logging, if I'm giving correct user ID, correct password, that is positive. If I'll be able to log in, that is called as positive testing. If I'm giving correct ID, wrong password, my system should not allow me to log in. If system will not allow me to log in, that is my test is passing, but I'm not moving ahead. So that is a negative testing. So during OQ, I have to do positive and negative testing. I have to check each and every aspects of the system with respect to function specifications. And this operational qualification is also called as SIT or functional testing. SIT is system integration testing, and functional testing, you are checking the functionality of the system. Next is performance qualification. Performance qualification is what it is done after OQ. Keep in mind, we have to install the application first, then we have to check the functionality, and then at the last, after IQ and OQ, we will carry out the PQ. So PQ has to be done against the URS. Whatever requirements were given by the users in the beginning, that needs to be tested. And this performance qualification, most companies users only are doing. If I am from ABC company, I asked TCS to implement this particular software. So up till OQ, TCS will carry out their part. Now PQ, my employees will come here and they'll carry out the testing. So in PQ, I have to run the process how I want the system, and I'll test the system in real world conditions, how my system is working. So as per user requirement specifications, as per my general process, I'll test the system. Only positive testing will be carried out, and I will test the system against the user requirement specifications. Keep in mind, only positive testing will be there, no negative testing. Next, reporting phase. Reporting phase, my development is over, my testing is over. Now I want to release, I want to report this application for operation use to my production guys. So these have three activities: traceability matrix, validation summary report, and system release. So what is traceability matrix and validation report here? So traceability matrix is kind of an Excel where you will define your requirements got implemented, sorry, where your requirements got implemented and where those requirements got tested. This is the most important document in a whole project, because you will trace back everything where all your requirements, what you have given in URS, where all those requirements got tested, where all those requirements got implemented. Let's say I'm an auditor. I audited your factory, I audited your site, and I don't have time. Auditors generally don't have time. So out of 100 requirements, they want to check just 2 requirements which they think it is critical. So what they will do, they'll call you, they'll pick the traceability matrix, they will ask out of 100 requirements, tell me, I want to see the documents of 51 requirement, 51st requirement. So they'll ask you to pull that FS, pull that IQ, pull that OQ, pull that PQ. Where 51st requirement or 51 requirement got tested, implemented. So they'll check that Excel traceability matrix Excel, and they will check only those documents. So they'll from that they'll get an idea कि हाँ, this particular requirements is implemented properly, it is tested properly, and now it is working fine. So that's why traceability matrix has to be prepared with the utmost care, and we have to detail each and everything in traceability matrix section wise. These requirements got implemented and where it is implemented. Next is validation summary report. Validation summary report will tell you how this project is implemented, what all documents we have prepared during the project, what all testing we have carried out, and what all incidents or deviations we faced during the project, and what all corrective actions we have taken. So this is a whole summary of the project, how my project is completed, what all documents, what all activities are carried out, what all issues we faced during the project, and how these issues were resolved. Once VSR is done, we will release a system note saying that my system is live and I can use the system, or as a end user, you people can use the system. Okay, so system will from project phase will be released to operation phase, and as an end user, end users can use the system. So other important thing I want to tell you, there is a validation plan and there is a validation master plan. So whatever documents, whatever templates, whatever documents you have to prepare, that will be prepared in a few templates. You will follow some templates and you will prepare the documents. So those documents, those templates, those procedures, you will get from your quality team, your QMS team, and that will be part of validation master plan. So those templates, those SOPs will come as a part of validation master plan, which as a project guy, you don't have to worry about it. They will provide you. You have to take the templates and you have to fill those templates as a project guy or as a validation guy. This validation master plan is like applicable to all the projects for 100 or n number of projects, single validation master plan. Whereas validation plan is for a single project. Whatever application you are implementing, you have to prepare this validation plan for that particular project, for that particular software. So with this, I'll conclude my introductory session, how you have to carry out this computer system validation activity. That's all. Or
Okay, very good, Kamal. Thank you so much. Uh, I guess many of us learned something new today because otherwise, most of the courses are primarily more on the IT side. Being living in New Jersey, I have so many of my friends, working on validation, quality management systems, and that's something which is uh, having a growing need, and often various people who are working in some doing lower level odd jobs always wonder and wonder as to what they can do towards retool and upgrade their skills. So I guess validation quality management system is something they must look at, wherein from 15 $20 per hour wage, they can have 40, 50, 60, $70 per hour wage, which is a great way of making more money and retaining a demanding profession also. So we'll see if anyone have any questions. I know it's Friday night. Uh, Otherwise, you can always send us an email at training@guruschools.com. As I said, the session will be recorded and will be updated on our website and will be sent to those couple of hundred people who have shown interest for validation, especially in New Jersey, New York, Boston, and Chicago area, where there are a good number of pharmaceutical companies are, as well as in California. There are a good number of my friends who were inquiring about this track. So thank you so much for, to begin with, giving a very detailed overview. It's a good takeaway with a good understanding as to what we can do. It's not rocket science. Anyone who's organized, who's disciplined, have an eye to a detail, and have a methodical and process-driven mindset, I guess it's a very good opportunity for them to get into this field, especially if you were to have some science background ideally. Otherwise, any background is okay. So does anyone have any questions for Kamal?
anybody has questions?
No? Okay. So what we will do is we'll record the session. We will send it to those people who have inquired about this session. And depending upon the response, once we have anywhere between 5 to 10 member team size looking to enroll, we will enroll the session. We are looking at right now October end or first week of November, as we already have 4 or 5 tracks starting this coming Monday. So wishful thinking, October end or first week of November, we eye on starting validation and quality management session. So if anyone of you interested, please do get back to us. As I said, it's an interesting career and it's an emerging career. So without doing any further ado, Kamal, again, thanks you so much for your time. Thank you all of you for joining in, and you all have a great weekend. So I'll send you all the recorded copy. Thank you.